At the far reaches of the southern seas, Australia waits a land suspended between ancient silence and modern dreams. It is a continent adrift, sculpted by isolation and touched by time itself. Here, life evolved apart, and stories were written not in books, but in stone, wind, and fire. Australia doesn't ask to be understood. It invites you to listen, to stand on its soil, and feel the echo of something timeless. Long time ago, this land was already alive with stories. The First Nations peoples carried songs of creation and spirit, etched into rock, sky, and memory for tens of thousands of years. They called it the dream time, an eternal rhythm connecting Earth, people, and the cosmos. In Australia, motion defines survival. No creature captures this more than the kangaroo leaping across endless plains, never moving backward, always pushing forward. It is more than a symbol. It's a reflection of the land itself. Restless, resilient, relentless. In every leap, the kangaroo carries the same spirit that drives a nation forged by extremes. Australia is a place of impossible contrasts. Forests, older than time itself, stand beside glass skylines that touch the clouds. Creatures that exist nowhere else wander beneath the shadows of cities that look to tomorrow. It is wild yet composed, ancient yet restless. A story written in sand and steel, fire and ocean. To step onto this land is to enter a world where nothing is ordinary. Australia cannot be summed up in facts or borders. It must be felt. It calls through the crash of waves on empty shores, through the silent gaze of Uluru, through the flight of birds across endless skies. This is a journey into the soul of a continent, where the past breathes beneath your feet and the future burns on the horizon. This is where the story begins. And welcome to another episode of Unveiling Nations. Australia, born isolated, defined by diversity. Australia is a paradox, a country that feels like a continent, a place where isolation has shaped its very identity. Cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years, life here evolved in ways the planet had never seen before. It is a land where ancient forces still rule, where deserts burn beneath the sun, where rainforests whisper secrets older than history, and where creatures roam that exist nowhere else. But Australia is not just a wild frontier. It has become a modern nation, woven into the fabric of global influence, while preserving the spirit of a land untouched by time. To understand Australia is to step into a place where Earth's memory lives, where the past is etched into stone, and the present reaches beyond the horizon. Australia is a young nation born just over a century ago, yet its story stretches back tens of thousands of years. The First Nations peoples have walked this land for over 65,000 years, carrying dreamtime stories that weave together creation, ancestry, and the spirit of the earth. Australia carries two timelines within it, one measured in millennia of spiritual connection, the other in the fast-moving chapters of modern progress. This unique duality makes Australia more than just a country. It is a place where ancient memory and modern ambition walk side by side, creating an identity unlike anywhere else on Earth. This is a nation defined by momentum, from a penal colony on distant shores to a thriving democracy and a voice on the world stage. Its people have embraced challenges and built a society known for freedom, opportunity, and openness. But beyond politics and economy, this forward motion lives in Australia's character, in its drive to explore, innovate, and connect. Here, ambition runs as deep as the red earth of the outback. It is a country not content to stand still, but one that leaps into the future while carrying the weight of its past. Australia's position gives it a unique role in shaping the century ahead. Perched between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, it sits at the heart of the world's most dynamic region, the Indo-Pacific. It is a bridge between Western alliances and Asian economies, a voice in global conversations on security, climate, and innovation. Australia stands not as a distant island, but as an active architect of global change. Its influence is not measured by size or population, but by its ability to connect, adapt, and lead. Australia's story is not just about where it has been, but where it is headed into a future where its choices ripple far beyond its shores. Australia cannot be fully understood from afar, it must be felt. It is the rush of waves crashing against empty beaches, the glow of stars above the outback's silent deserts, and the hush of forests older than civilization itself. It is a country of contrasts where wild beauty and human ambition exist in the same breath. And yet, beneath all its diversity, one truth remains constant. Australia is a land of motion, resilience, and identity. This is not just a story about a nation. It is an invitation to witness how a place shaped by isolation has become a force of connection, influencing the world in ways both seen and unseen. Australia is not just somewhere you visit. It is somewhere you experience. Australia is a constitutional monarchy, a rare balance between tradition and democracy. King Charles III serves as the ceremonial head of state, but real power lies with the Prime Minister and the Federal Parliament in Canberra. This system blends British heritage with Australian independence, evolving into a model of stability. Unlike many nations, Australia's monarchy is symbolic, not absolute. The Governor-General acts on behalf of the monarch, but every decision must align with the elected government. This duality, a nod to the past while governing the present, reflects Australia's broader identity, honoring roots while forging its own path. It's a system designed to preserve balance, ensuring that no single power dominates and the people's voice remains central to national leadership. Australia's democracy beats within the walls of Parliament House, where the bicameral system, the House of Representatives, and the Senate shapes national policy. Canberra, the purpose-built capital, was designed as a symbol of unity between rival cities Sydney and Melbourne. Here, laws are debated, budgets are negotiated, and futures are written. Two dominant forces lead the political landscape: the Australian Labor Party and the Liberal National Coalition. Elections are held every 3 years, empowering citizens to reshape government direction with remarkable frequency. Unlike many countries, compulsory voting ensures that over 90% of Australians participate, making democracy active, not passive. This culture of engagement reflects an enduring belief that leadership is shared and governance exists to serve the people first. Australia may sit at the edge of the map, but it plays a central role in global affairs. It is a member of the G20, APEC, the Commonwealth of Nations, and maintains a rotating seat on the UN Security Council. Through AUKUS, a trilateral pact with the United States and the United Kingdom, Australia is investing in nuclear-powered submarines and next-generation defense capabilities. At the same time, it fosters deep economic ties with China, Japan, ASEAN, and the EU, making it a bridge between Western alliances and Asia-Pacific economies. From climate negotiations to humanitarian missions, Australia leverages its unique position to connect worlds. Its influence comes not from size or population, but from strategic geography, alliances, and a reputation for diplomatic stability. Australia's policies are built on balancing freedom, equity, and progress. It leads the world in multicultural integration, embracing immigrants from over 200 countries while protecting the rights and traditions of its First Nations peoples. Environmental stewardship is a national priority. As one of the countries most affected by climate change, Australia invests heavily in renewable energy, pledging to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Domestically, healthcare through Medicare and public education remain cornerstones of social equality, ensuring citizens benefit from shared prosperity. Meanwhile, debates on immigration, energy policy, and Indigenous rights continue to shape the national narrative. Australia's politics reflect its identity, dynamic, inclusive, and forward-looking, constantly evolving to meet the challenges of a changing world. Australia's political journey is still unfolding. As the Indo-Pacific becomes the center of global competition, Australia finds itself at a crossroads of influence and responsibility. Its alliances with the US and UK strengthen security, while economic interdependence with China demands careful diplomacy. At home, issues like climate resilience, technological innovation, and reconciliation with First Nations peoples dominate national debates. The challenge is clear: how to grow without losing balance, how to lead without forgetting roots. Yet Australia's history shows a consistent truth. This is a nation defined by adaptability. From a remote colony to a modern democracy and a Pacific power, Australia continues to navigate its role on the global stage, shaping not just its own future, but the future of its region and the world. Australia's military identity was forged in blood and brotherhood. During World War I, more than 400,000 Australians served under the Australian Imperial Force, AIF, with battles like Gallipoli shaping a national spirit of sacrifice and resilience. In World War II, Australia faced direct threats for the first time as Japanese forces advanced across the Pacific. The bombing of Darwin in 1942 left scars still remembered today. From the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan, Australia's soldiers have fought not just for defense, but for shared ideals alongside allies. These conflicts built a legacy of professionalism, adaptability, and loyalty traits that continue to define the Australian Defence Force today. The Australian Defence Force, ADF, stands among the most advanced militaries in the Indo-Pacific. Comprising the Royal Australian Navy, RAN, the Australian Army, and the Royal Australian Air Force, RAAF, it operates with precision and mobility across vast terrains and oceans. With an annual defense budget exceeding $50 billion USD in 2025, Australia invests heavily in next-generation equipment. Unlike many nations, Australia's military strategy is shaped by its geographic reality, an island continent surrounded by strategic waterways. Its role is not only to defend, but to project stability across one of the world's most volatile regions. Australia's strength is amplified by alliances and partnerships. Through ANZUS, a security pact with the United States and New Zealand, Australia guarantees mutual defense commitments. Its membership in the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, alongside the US, UK, Canada, and New Zealand, grants it access to global intelligence sharing networks. But the most transformative pact is AUKUS, a trilateral security agreement with the US and UK, under which Australia will acquire nuclear-powered submarines by the 2032. This landmark deal will redefine Australia's strategic reach, allowing it to patrol deeper into the Indo-Pacific and counterbalance rising tensions in the region. Australia doesn't aim to dominate, but to shape stability, safeguarding trade routes and maritime security for allies and neighbors alike. The Indo-Pacific has become the world's strategic epicenter, and Australia sits at its heart. With global trade routes flowing through the South China Sea and Indian Ocean, Australia's role in securing freedom of navigation has never been more vital. Its naval bases in Darwin and Perth serve as staging points for joint exercises with partners from ASEAN, Japan, India, and the US. In humanitarian missions, Australia's forces respond swiftly to natural disasters across the Pacific, reinforcing its image as a reliable regional partner. By combining military presence with diplomatic leadership, Australia wields influence far beyond its size, protecting not just its own borders, but regional stability. The challenges of the 21st century demand a military that evolves as fast as the threats it faces. Australia is shifting towards integrated defense technologies, investing in autonomous naval systems, hypersonic missiles, and quantum communications. By 2035, Australia aims to field one of the most technologically sophisticated militaries in the world, while maintaining its role as a humanitarian leader. Yet its power lies not in weapons alone, but in the alliances and values that guide its actions. For Australia, defense is not about conquest. It's about preserving balance in an increasingly uncertain world. In Australia, no creature carries more meaning than the kangaroo. Its powerful hind legs propel it forward, but nature gave it no ability to move backward. This simple truth has turned the kangaroo into a national metaphor, a country always leaping ahead, never retreating. Across the vast outback, millions roam free. Kangaroos outnumber Australia's population 2-to-1. From ancient Aboriginal rock art to the modern coat of arms, the kangaroo's image connects past and present, binding culture, land, and identity. To watch one leap beneath the southern sun is to see Australia itself. Restless, resilient, always moving forward. Alongside the kangaroo on Australia's coat of arms stands another remarkable creature, the emu. Like the kangaroo, the emu cannot walk backward, a deliberate choice when the emblem was adopted in 1908. Symbolizing a nation that refuses to turn back. Towering over 1.9 meters yet flightless, the emu thrives across plains and deserts, embodying adaptability in harsh landscapes. For the First Nations peoples, the emu was a source of food, tools, and spiritual meaning, appearing in Dreamtime stories passed down for thousands of years. Two creatures, side by side, chosen not by chance, but by philosophy. Australia is a nation built on the promise of motion, progress, and survival. Australia's identity lives in more than its creatures. It's carved into stone, stitched into flags, and echoed in constellations. The Southern Cross, a 5-star constellation, has guided sailors for centuries and now adorns the Australian flag, symbolizing the country's place beneath the southern skies. The national colors green and gold honor Australia's native flora, especially the golden wattle, the national flower. Even the coat of arms tells a story. Kangaroo and emu flanking a shield of 6 states, bound by a motto of unity. These symbols are not mere decorations. They are narratives, fragments of identity woven together reminding Australians who they are and where they belong beneath an endless sky. For the First Nations peoples, the kangaroo, emu, and countless other native creatures are more than symbols. They are spiritual kin. In Dreamtime stories, these beings shaped rivers, mountains, and stars, leaving their footprints in the land and songs in the wind. The red sands of Uluru, the painted caves of Kakadu, and the ceremonial dances still performed today all carry this spiritual inheritance. Modern Australia embraces these narratives, integrating Aboriginal symbolism into its currency, art, and national ceremonies. Through these connections, Australia honors not just its history, but its living soul. A reminder that beneath its cities and skylines lies an ancient heartbeat, still resonating across the continent. Australia's symbols are more than marks of identity. They are expressions of philosophy. The kangaroo teaches motion. The emu embodies resilience. The Southern Cross points to belonging beneath southern skies. Together they form a language of meaning, linking heritage, land, and aspiration. These symbols appear everywhere. On currency and passports, in sports uniforms, in the national anthem sung at stadiums and schools. For Australians, they are not just reminders of the past, but beacons guiding the future proof that a young nation can root itself in ancient wisdom while leaping fearlessly forward. In every leap, every march, and every star overhead, Australia writes its story of identity. Beneath Australia's sunburnt earth lies one of the richest resource reserves on the planet. From the iron ore mines of Western Australia to the vast coal seams of Queensland, these hidden treasures fuel both Australia's prosperity and the engines of global growth. Today, Australia is the world's largest exporter of iron ore and coal, and a major supplier of gold, copper, and liquefied natural gas, LNG. But these are not just numbers. Entire cities like Perth and Newcastle have risen from the desert and coastline on the back of mining booms. This wealth has allowed Australia to invest in education, innovation, and infrastructure, transforming it into a modern economic powerhouse. The land itself has become Australia's greatest asset, a foundation upon which it builds not just its present prosperity, but its future ambitions. Australia's economy is also rooted in its fertile heartlands. Its sweeping plains produce some of the world's finest beef, lamb, wheat, and wine. With less than 0.3% of the global population, Australia supplies over 3% of the world's agricultural exports, feeding millions beyond its shores. Barossa Valley and Hunter Valley produce wines that have become global icons, while Australia's organic produce is sought after from Tokyo to Dubai. Agriculture is not just an industry, it's a cultural identity, a connection to the land that spans thousands of years, from Aboriginal traditions to modern techniques. In a time when food security is becoming the next frontier, Australia stands as both a provider and a pioneer. Australia's economic power is mirrored in its world-class cities. Sydney, the financial capital, hums with energy. Its harbour bridge and opera house symbols of ambition and innovation. Melbourne, celebrated as one of the most livable cities on Earth, thrives as a hub for finance, technology, and the arts. Meanwhile, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide fuel growth through trade, resources, and culture. These cities are magnets for talent and investment, ranked among the world's top destinations for education, startups, and sustainable infrastructure. Here, ancient land meets modern skylines, creating spaces where innovation flourishes without erasing identity. Australia's cities are more than urban centers. They are engines of progress, shaping the country's role in the global economy. Australia's influence extends far beyond its borders. As a top 15 global economy with a GDP of $1.8 trillion USD 2025, its prosperity is tied to the currents of global trade. China remains Australia's largest trading partner, accounting for over 30% of exports, primarily iron ore, coal, and liquefied natural gas. But Australia is also diversifying rapidly, strengthening relationships with Japan, the US, India, and ASEAN. Through agreements like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, Australia secures access to some of the fastest-growing markets on Earth. Its ports from Darwin in the north to Fremantle in the west connect Asia, Europe, and the Americas, making Australia a vital trade hub in the Indo-Pacific. This outward reach ensures Australia isn't just a supplier of resources, but an active player shaping global commerce. Australia's economic story is not only about wealth today, but resilience tomorrow. As one of the nations most vulnerable to climate change, Australia invests heavily in renewable energy and sustainable industries. From vast solar farms in the outback to offshore wind projects along its coasts, the country is on track to become a renewable energy superpower. The Net Zero 2050 roadmap drives innovation in green hydrogen, electric vehicles, and energy storage, creating new industries while transforming old ones. These transitions are not just environmental imperatives. They are economic opportunities. Australia is rewriting its role in the global energy revolution, proving that a nation built on resources can also lead in sustainability. Australia's spirit of innovation is forged by its isolation. Separated from the rest of the world, Australians learn to adapt, create, and invent solutions for a land of extremes. From remote mining automation to satellite-based weather prediction, Australia has turned challenges into opportunities. In a continent where survival once depended on innovation, the drive to create has become a national DNA. Here, discovery is not an option. It's the way forward. From the vastness of the outback to the endless skies, Australia plays a pivotal role in exploring the unknown. The park's observatory, nicknamed the Dish, helped receive the Apollo 11 moon landing signals in 1969, forever linking Australia with humanity's first steps on the moon. Today, the Square Kilometre Array, SKE, the world's largest radio telescope project, is being built in Western Australia, aiming to peer into the origins of the universe. Australia is also a rising player in space innovation, investing in satellite launch systems, quantum communications, and asteroid research. For a nation grounded by deserts and reefs, its vision reaches far beyond Earth itself. In Australia, the sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. Australia is home to the Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth, and more than 10,000 beaches across its coastline. This intimate connection with the sea has made Australia a global leader in marine science. At the Australian Institute of Marine Science, AIMS, researchers track coral bleaching, study ocean currents, and design restoration technologies to protect fragile ecosystems. Australia's scientists lead Antarctic expeditions, monitor deep-sea biodiversity, and pioneer ocean-based renewable energy systems. These innovations have global significance, understanding how the oceans regulate climate, food security, and biodiversity. Here, science isn't abstract, it's survival. Protecting the oceans means protecting the planet itself. And Australia stands at the front line of that mission. Australia is redefining its place in the global energy revolution. With abundant sunlight, wind, and resources, it is emerging as a renewable energy powerhouse. Vast solar farms blanket the outback, while offshore wind projects rise along its coasts. Australia leads the world in developing green hydrogen, a fuel that could reshape global energy markets by 2040. At the same time, the country invests heavily in battery storage, carbon capture, and net zero technologies. It's a shift driven by necessity. As one of the countries most affected by climate change, Australia is turning vulnerability into innovation. The result is a blueprint for a cleaner, more resilient future, one built on sustainability and science. Australia is stepping boldly into the AI revolution. From mining automation in Pilbara to precision farming systems, AI is transforming industries across the continent. The National AI Center, launched in 2021, coordinates innovation across sectors, ensuring Australia remains competitive in the global tech race. Unlike many nations, Australia integrates Aboriginal knowledge systems into AI-driven climate models, blending ancient insights with modern technology. In this fusion of tradition and innovation, Australia isn't just adopting the future, it's engineering it. Australia is the world's smallest inhabited continent, yet the sixth largest country, a land sculpted by isolation. For millions of years, it drifted apart from other landmasses, evolving into a world of its own. This separation gave rise to unique ecosystems, creatures, plants, and landscapes that exist nowhere else on Earth. The coastline stretches over 34,000 kilometers, carved by wind, tide, and time into dramatic cliffs, hidden coves, and endless golden beaches. From the southern wilds of Tasmania to the northern Cape York Peninsula, Australia holds a story where land meets eternity. Here, Earth whispers its oldest secrets, written in stone, sand, and reef. A reminder that this continent is not just a place, but a living memory. At the continent's core lies the outback, an expanse so vast it defies imagination. Stretching across 5.6 million square kilometers, this sunburned heart is a realm of extremes. Searing heat by day, frozen silence by night. Towering rock formations like Uluru rise from the desert like ancient sentinels, sacred to the First Nations peoples, who have walked these lands for over 65,000 years. Here, rivers vanish into sand, and skies blaze with millions of stars untouched by city lights. Life in the outback demands resilience. Sparse communities thrive alongside cattle stations, larger than some European countries, bound together by survival and spirit. To stand here is to step back into Earth's deep time, a reminder that long before skyscrapers and satellites, this land breathed in silence. In the northeast lies the Daintree Rainforest, a living archive of Earth's prehistoric past. Estimated at over 135 million years old, it is among the oldest continuously surviving rainforests on the planet, older even than the Amazon. Here, lush canopies shelter rare creatures, the cassowary, dubbed the guardian of the forest, and ancient plants unchanged for millennia. Waterfalls cascade into jade pools, while rivers weave through a mosaic of ferns, orchids, and mangroves. For the Kuku-Yalanji people, this forest is more than habitat. it is sacred, a place where the Dreamtime spirits still walk. Every leaf, every shadow, tells a story of adaptation and endurance. To step beneath its green cathedral is to breathe in deep history, a reminder of nature's patience and power. Just off Queensland's coast lies the Great Barrier Reef, the largest living structure on Earth and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Spanning 2,300 kilometers and comprising over 2,900 individual reefs, it is a cathedral of life beneath the waves. Here, 1,600 species of fish, 600 types of coral, and creatures from sea turtles to giant clams coexist in dazzling biodiversity. Scientists call it the heartbeat of the ocean, but this natural wonder faces grave challenges. Rising sea temperatures and coral bleaching events threaten its survival, sparking a global effort to protect and restore it. Diving into its depths is to enter a living kaleidoscope, where every flicker of light carries millions of years of evolution. The reef is more than beauty. It is a barometer of our planet's health, fragile yet enduring, like life itself. While much of Australia burns beneath the sun, its southeast hides another face, the snowy mountains. Here, peaks like Mount Kosciuszko, Australia's tallest at 2,228 meters, pierce alpine skies. In winter, white blankets the highlands, drawing skiers and adventurers, while summer reveals wildflower meadows and glacier-fed rivers. Further south lies Tasmania, a world apart, where rugged wilderness meets wild coasts and ancient forests. Over 40% of the island is protected within national parks and reserves, preserving some of the planet's last untouched temperate rainforests. From snow-dusted peaks to roaring coastlines, this southern frontier is a testament to nature's contrasts. Australia is not one landscape but many worlds stitched together, a continent where opposites coexist in breathtaking harmony. Australia is a land where climates collide. Stretching across 7.7 million square kilometers, the continent embraces tropical heat, temperate coasts, arid deserts, and alpine peaks. In the north, monsoonal rains drench ancient rainforests, while the vast outback bakes beneath relentless suns. To the south, cool winds sweep across vineyards and beaches, while the snowy mountains glitter under alpine frost. This diversity gives Australia its ecological richness, but it also creates fragility. Droughts can last years, wildfires can rage across thousands of kilometers, and cyclones rise suddenly from tropical seas. Australia's climate is both a gift and a trial, a force that shapes its people, its land, and its identity. Australia is no stranger to fire, but in recent years the flames have grown unforgiving. The black summer of 2019-2020 burned through 18 million hectares, destroyed over 3,000 homes, and claimed 33 lives. Thick smoke blanketed cities like Sydney and Canberra, while skies turned crimson red. Scientists called it one of the worst bushfire seasons in recorded history, fueled by prolonged drought and rising temperatures. Even as forests burned, images of koalas rescued from flames and volunteers battling infernos revealed another truth: a nation's resilience. Fire is part of Australia's natural cycle, but climate change has amplified its fury. Each summer, the continent prepares again, balancing the raw power of nature with the will to endure. Where there is fire, there is also water's rage. Northern Australia lies within the tropical cyclone belt, where storms like Cyclone Tracy, 1974, and Cyclone Yasi, 2011, reshaped entire coastlines. Further south, Torrential rains transform rivers into roaring floods, inundating farms, towns, and highways. In 2022, record-breaking floods swept across New South Wales and Queensland, submerging suburbs and displacing tens of thousands. Australia's meteorological extremes mean that a single region can face fire, flood, and drought, sometimes within the same year. These events test more than infrastructure. They test communities, resilience, and adaptation. For Australians, weather is not just a forecast, it's a force of life. Australia stands on the front lines of climate change. The nation has warmed by 1.4 degrees Celsius since 1910, nearly double the global average. Rising sea temperatures have triggered mass coral bleaching across the Great Barrier Reef, threatening one of Earth's richest ecosystems. Inland, prolonged droughts devastate agriculture, while heat waves now last longer and strike harder than ever before. Yet Australia is not standing still. From renewable energy megaprojects to carbon-neutral initiatives, it is reshaping its economy to meet the climate challenge. Here, adaptation isn't optional, it's survival. Australia's fight is not just for its land, but for the planet's future. Australia's climate writes the story of its people and landscapes. It breeds resilience in farmers who coax life from cracked soils, and in coastal towns rebuilt after cyclones and floods. It inspires innovation, driving advances in water management, renewable energy, and sustainable farming. And it teaches a profound lesson that humanity and nature are inseparable. Every wildfire scar, every bleached coral, every regrown forest carries the same truth. Australia's fragility is matched only by its endurance. This is a continent defined not by predictability, but by survival against extremes. A land of fire and water, where the past and future are written in sky, sand, and sea. Long before maps or nations, Australia was already home. The First Nations peoples lived in harmony with the land, guided by the Dreamtime, a spiritual framework explaining creation, identity, and belonging. Their stories, carved into rock art and passed down through songlines, speak of ancestral beings shaping rivers, mountains, and stars. With more than 250 languages and hundreds of clans, this was not an empty land, but a continent of cultures, deeply connected to its land and spirit. Dreamtime remains Australia's oldest living memory, a reminder that the nation's story began long before colonization. In 1770, British explorer James Cook mapped Australia's east coast, claiming it for the British Crown. 18 years later, in 1788, the first fleet arrived at Botany Bay, carrying convicts, Marines, and settlers to establish a penal colony at Port Jackson, now Sydney. For the First Nations peoples, this marked the beginning of dispossession and disruption. Conflict, disease, and displacement devastated communities, forever altering ancient ways of life. For the British, Australia represented both punishment and opportunity, a remote outpost to ease prison overcrowding and expand imperial influence. By the early 19th century, settlements spread along the coastlines, driven by sheep grazing, timber, and whaling industries. A new chapter had begun, one defined by colonial ambition and the collision of two worlds. The mid-19th century transformed Australia. In 1851, gold was discovered in New South Wales and Victoria, triggering one of the world's largest gold rushes. Hundreds of thousands flocked to Australia, not just from Europe, but from China, North America, and beyond, reshaping the country's demographics and economy. Wealth poured in, cities expanded, and a sense of Australian identity began to take shape. But alongside fortune came unrest. In 1854, the Eureka Stockade Uprising in Ballarat saw miners rise against colonial authorities, demanding fairer rights and representation. This rebellion became a symbol of democracy and egalitarian values that still define Australia today. Through gold and struggle, a multicultural foundation was laid, one that would shape the nation's character for generations. By the late 19th century, 6 separate British colonies governed Australia: New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Tasmania. Despite their differences, shared interests in trade, defense, and identity fueled the dream of unity. After decades of debate, on January 1st, 1901, Australia officially became the Commonwealth of Australia under a federal constitution. This federation created a parliamentary democracy, granting the new nation control over domestic affairs, while still recognizing the British Crown. The adoption of a national flag and the celebration of Australia Day marked a growing sense of nationhood. Though ties to Britain remained strong, Australia had begun to walk its own path, balancing tradition and independence. The birth of the Federation was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning of a modern nation. The 20th and 21st centuries reshaped Australia into the nation we know today. In World War I, over 400,000 Australians served, with battles like Gallipoli forging a spirit of courage and sacrifice. World War II brought the war closer than ever, as Darwin was bombed and Japanese forces advanced through the Pacific. After the war, Australia embraced a massive migration program, welcoming millions from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, laying the foundation for one of the world's most multicultural societies. Today, it stands as a modern democracy, its identity rooted in ancient heritage, yet shaped by innovation and diversity. From Dreamtime to the digital age, Australia's journey tells a single story. A nation forged by extremes, but united by resilience and vision. As of 2025, Australia is home to approximately 26.7 million people, spread across a landmass almost the size of the continental United States. The population density is among the lowest in the world, roughly 3.5 people per square kilometer, with a majority living along the eastern and southeastern coasts. The gender ratio is nearly balanced, with 49.6% male and 50.4% female. Australia today faces one of its most profound demographic challenges: an aging population. The median age has risen to 38.8 years, and nearly 1 in 6 Australians is now 65 or older. At the same time, the fertility rate has fallen to just 1.63 births per woman in 2025, far below the replacement level of 2.1 needed to sustain natural growth. This shift is reshaping the nation's workforce, economy, and social fabric, creating both challenges and opportunities for the Australia of tomorrow. This demographic shift has made migration a key driver of growth. Despite vast deserts and remote interiors, Australia thrives where its cities hug the coastline, blending urban dynamism with oceanfront living. In this delicate balance of space and density, Australia's people shape a nation that is both expansive and intimate. Australia is among the most multicultural societies on Earth. Nearly 30% of Australians were born overseas, and over 50% have at least one parent born abroad. Today, the largest immigrant groups come from the United Kingdom at around 4%, followed by India with 3.5%, China at 3.3%, and New Zealand at 2.5%. Communities from Vietnam, the Philippines, Italy, and Greece also play a vital role, adding their traditions, flavors, and stories to the nation's cultural tapestry. This diversity doesn't just enrich Australia's identity, It makes the country a global crossroads where heritage and innovation meet every single day. More than 300 languages are spoken nationwide, with Mandarin, Arabic, Cantonese, and Vietnamese among the most common after English. This diversity enriches food, art, music, and festivals, turning cities like Melbourne and Sydney into global crossroads of culture and innovation. In Australia, multiculturalism is not just tolerated, it is celebrated, shaping the nation's identity and economy alike. Long before Federation, Australia belonged to the First Nations peoples, whose roots trace back over thousands of years, the oldest continuous culture on Earth. Today, they make up about 3.8% of the population, representing hundreds of distinct nations, languages, and traditions. The Uluru Statement from the Heart in 2017 marked a turning point, calling for greater recognition, representation, and reconciliation. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples contribute richly to Australia's arts, sports, and environmental stewardship. However, challenges remain. Life expectancy gaps, limited access to healthcare, and systemic inequities highlight an ongoing journey toward true inclusion. Their cultural knowledge, especially about land management, biodiversity, and fire ecology, is increasingly shaping modern environmental policies. In their voices, Australia hears its deepest memory and its future responsibility. Despite its vast deserts and outback, Australia is an urban nation at heart. Nearly 86% of Australians live in cities, clustered along the coasts where modern skylines meet endless beaches. Sydney, a global financial hub, leads with over 5.3 million residents. Close behind, Melbourne, the nation's cultural capital, is home to nearly 5.2 million people. Cities like Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide form the next layer of vibrant urban life, each adding its own rhythm and character to Australia's modern identity. These cities consistently rank among the world's most livable, offering clean air, open spaces, and high-quality healthcare and education. Urban Australia is a magnet for students, startups, and global talent, integrating communities from every corner of the planet. Yet beyond the glass towers lies a laid-back lifestyle, where work-life balance and weekend surf escapes are part of the national rhythm. Here, city life doesn't compete with nature, it blends seamlessly with it. Beneath Australia's diversity lies a shared identity, a spirit shaped by freedom, resilience, and belonging. Australians, or Aussies, pride themselves on a culture of equality and informality. Sports bind the nation, from cricket and rugby to surfing and Aussie rules football. Arenas become gathering places of unity. Festivals like Australia Day, Vivid Sydney, and NAIDOC Week celebrate the fusion of histories and cultures. The concept of mateship, a uniquely Australian value, underscores loyalty, solidarity, and helping one another in times of need. From the coasts to the outback, this sense of community and shared purpose thrives, bridging differences of origin, language, and belief. In its people, Australia finds its true identity, diverse yet connected, modern yet rooted, always moving forward together. Australia is a land of many faiths, yet increasingly, it is also a land of none. As of 2025, around 40% of Australians identify as Christian, including Catholics, Anglicans, and Protestants. But the fastest growing group is those reporting no religion, now making up to 39% of the population, a reflection of Australia's modern secular identity. Meanwhile, Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and Judaism continue to flourish thanks to migration and multiculturalism. This diversity of belief mirrors Australia itself, open, dynamic, and inclusive. Religion here is personal, not prescriptive. Instead of defining national policy, faith weaves into culture, festivals, and daily life, shaping Australia's identity without dictating it. For over 230 years, Christianity has been the dominant faith in Australia, arriving with the first fleet in 1788. Cathedrals like St. Mary's in Sydney and St. Patrick's in Melbourne still stand as symbols of this heritage, blending European architecture with Australia's evolving culture. Christianity influenced the foundations of education, healthcare, and law, shaping the country's early institutions. Yet, modern Australia has seen a gradual decline in religious adherence. While over 90% identified as Christian in 1900, that number has dropped below half today. This shift reflects a society that prioritizes freedom of belief over conformity. Christianity remains deeply present in national ceremonies, public holidays, and charitable works, but it coexists peacefully with a tapestry of other faiths. It is no longer the sole voice of Australia, but one among many in a choir of diversity. Australia's growing multiculturalism has reshaped its religious landscape. Buddhism, introduced largely through Vietnamese and Southeast Asian migration after the 1,970 seconds, now accounts for 2.5% of the population, influencing Australia's arts, festivals, and mindfulness practices. Islam is one of the fastest growing faiths, thriving within diverse communities from Lebanon, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, and Somalia. Mosques in Sydney and Melbourne stand as architectural testaments to this heritage. Hinduism has surged alongside migration from India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, introducing vibrant festivals like Diwali and Holi into mainstream celebrations. These religions not only enrich Australia's cultural identity, they symbolize openness and coexistence, proving that diversity is not a challenge, it is Australia's strength. Australia's Constitution guarantees freedom of religion and, just as importantly, freedom from religion. This has created a society where belief and non-belief coexist peacefully, protected under the same laws. Interfaith dialogues flourish, uniting communities across churches, mosques, temples, and secular spaces. Festivals like Ramadan nights in Lakemba, Diwali in Melbourne, and Buddha's Day in Brisbane draw Australians of every background, proving that faith is not a boundary, but a bridge. As Australia grows more diverse, it faces the challenge and opportunity of shaping a shared identity in a world of many voices. The future will not belong to one belief, but to the harmonies formed between them. In faith, freedom, and coexistence, Australia finds its quiet strength. For Australians, the ocean is more than geography, it is identity. With over 10,000 beaches stretched along 34,000 kilometers of coastline, Australia lives at the edge of land and sea. From the golden sands of Bondi to the untamed surf of Bells Beach, coastal life shapes language, food, and leisure. Barbecues by the shore, barefoot cricket games, and early morning surf sessions are rituals as old as any tradition. The coast is also where urban dynamism meets nature's wildness. Sydney's Opera House rises against a backdrop of sparkling harbors, while Brisbane's river winds past subtropical palms. For Australians, the sea represents freedom, an open horizon where life feels unbound. To understand Australia, you must feel the salt on your skin and hear the rhythm of its tides. If there is one heartbeat that echoes across Australia, it is sport. From cricket matches under summer skies to the roar of Aussie rules football stadiums, sports are where diversity dissolves and community thrives. Rugby, soccer, netball, and swimming dominate national pride, while surfing is practically a birthright along the coast. Australia has produced legends like Cathy Freeman, who carried both Indigenous heritage and the nation's hopes at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. and Ash Barty, a symbol of humility and excellence in tennis. Sport binds Australians together, transcending language, faith, and origin. On weekends, parks and beaches become playgrounds, where mateship, the uniquely Australian value of loyalty and camaraderie, comes alive. In every game, Australians find not just competition, but connection. Australia's calendar is alive with celebration. In Sydney, the Vivid Festival transforms the city into a canvas of light and sound, drawing millions from around the world. NAIDOC Week, known as National Aborigines and Islanders Day Observance Committee, honors First Nations peoples, celebrating their history and culture through art, music, and ceremony. Melbourne comes alive with Moomba Festival, while Brisbane hosts River Fire, where fireworks cascade across the water. Multicultural festivals like Lunar New Year, Diwali, and Ramadan nights reflect a nation where many worlds converge. In Australia, festivals are more than events. They are expressions of identity. They invite people of every origin to share stories, flavors, and traditions, weaving a tapestry as vibrant as the nation itself. Ask an Australian to describe their culture, and you'll hear one word again and again: laid back. This relaxed lifestyle is not about inaction, but about balance. Work matters, but so does weekend surf, time with family, and the freedom to enjoy open spaces. Australians value mateship, a deep-rooted belief in loyalty, equality, and helping one another. It shapes everything from disaster response to everyday kindness. Their humor is dry, their tone informal, and their approach to life egalitarian. No one is above anyone else. This Aussie spirit lives in cities, beaches, and bushlands alike. A reminder that identity here is not defined by status, but by community and connection. In Australia, culture is not fixed, it moves with its people, always open, always evolving. Sydney was founded in 1788, when the first fleet arrived at Port Jackson to establish a British penal colony. What began as a rugged outpost has transformed into Australia's largest city, now home to over 5.3 million people in 2025. The city hugs the shores of one of the world's most beautiful natural harbors, its identity inseparable from the sea. From circular quay to the rocks, history still whispers through cobblestone alleys and colonial sandstone buildings, blending past and present. Sydney's spirit was forged by convicts, settlers, and migrants, who together built a city that would become Australia's gateway to the world. Every sunrise over the harbour tells the same story, a place born of hardship, yet destined for greatness. Sydney's skyline is a study in contrasts, a dance between nature and architecture. The Sydney Opera House, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, rises like sails frozen in motion, welcoming millions each year to its stages. Beside it, the Harbour Bridge, affectionately nicknamed the Kothanger, connects the city's heart, a feat of engineering completed in 1932. From the heights of the Sydney Tower Eye to the serene shores of Bondi Beach, Sydney offers panoramas where steel meets sea. In daylight, the skyline dazzles. At night, it glows, a constant reminder that this city is both stage and star. Sydney is the economic engine of Australia, contributing nearly 25% of the nation's GDP. It houses the Australian Securities Exchange, ASX, the Reserve Bank of Australia, and the headquarters of global tech giants, finance firms, and startups. As one of the Asia-Pacific's leading financial hubs, Sydney connects Australia to markets in Tokyo, Singapore, London, and New York. The city's economy is powered by finance, tourism, real estate, and technology. with rapid growth in renewable energy and AI innovation. Its deep-water port and proximity to Asia make it a strategic hub for global trade. Yet, Sydney balances ambition with lifestyle high-rise towers, framed beaches, parks, and waterfronts where work and leisure coexist. This harmony between commerce and culture makes Sydney more than a city. It is a living symbol of modern Australia. Sydney is a melting pot of cultures, where nearly 40% of residents were born overseas. This diversity flows through its festivals, food, and neighborhoods. From opera house performances to open-air concerts at Barangaroo, Sydney's art scene is among the most vibrant in the Southern Hemisphere. Events like Mardi Gras, Vivid Sydney, and Sydney Festival draw millions, transforming streets into stages of light, music, and diversity. This is a city where cultures don't just coexist, they collide beautifully, creating something entirely its own. To truly know Sydney, you must feel its rhythm. It's the surf crashing at Bondi at dawn, the buzz of Circular Quay at midday, and the sparkle of the Harbour Bridge at twilight. Weekends bring barbecues by the beach, ferries to Manly, and lazy afternoons under the Royal Botanic Gardens fig trees. Yet, Sydney is also a city of ambition, a place where skyscrapers rise beside heritage wharves, and ideas flow as freely as the tides. It is where First Nations history, colonial heritage, and multicultural energy converge into a single identity. Sydney is not just a city, it is a feeling, freedom, possibility, and belonging, framed by one of the most breathtaking harbors on Earth. Melbourne's story begins in 1835, when settlers arrived on the banks of the Yarra River. By the 1852, the discovery of gold in nearby Ballarat and Bendigo transformed Melbourne from a small settlement into the richest city in the Southern Hemisphere. Grand boulevards, Victorian-era architecture, and elegant arcades rose during this golden age, traces of which still line Collins Street and Royal Arcade today. Now home to over 5.2 million residents in 2025. Melbourne thrives as a global hub of art, sport, and innovation. Its history isn't just written in books, it's etched into its laneways, murals, and heritage facades. A city where old-world charm blends seamlessly with modern ambition. Melbourne was built on dreams of prosperity, and that spirit still drives it forward today. Melbourne is a canvas city where creativity flows through its laneways and rooftops. Hidden among the skyscrapers, streets like Hosier Lane and AC, divided by DC Lane, burst with ever-changing murals, turning the city into an open-air gallery. The National Gallery of Victoria, NGV, Australia's oldest and most visited art museum, houses masterpieces from ancient cultures to cutting-edge contemporary works. Each year, Melbourne hosts events like the Melbourne International Arts Festival and White Night, when light projections transform entire city blocks into living artworks. Art here isn't locked behind glass, it spills into cafes, trams, and markets, inviting everyone to take part. In Melbourne, creativity isn't curated, it's alive, breathing in every alley, painting every wall, and shaping the city's soul. Melbourne is obsessed with coffee, and it shows. Ranked among the world's top coffee cities, it's home to over 2,000 cafes, from hidden laneway espresso bars to sprawling riverside roasteries. The city pioneered the flat white and elevated coffee culture into an art form, where precision, flavor, and storytelling converge in every cup. Neighborhoods like Carlton, Fitzroy, and Brunswick are filled with specialty roasters and third-wave cafes. while the annual Melbourne International Coffee Expo attracts baristas and brewers from across the globe. Coffee here is more than a drink. It's a social ritual, a creative expression, and an invitation to slow down in a city that lives fast but feels intimate. For Melbourne, caffeine is not just culture, it's identity. If Sydney owns the harbour, Melbourne owns sport. This is the birthplace of Australian rules football, AFL, where the Melbourne Cricket Ground, MCG, seating over 100,000 fans, transforms into a cathedral of competition. Sport here isn't just pastime, it's passion, identity, and community. On weekends, parks fill with locals kicking footies, while pubs overflow during AFL finals. Melbourne breathes sport the way others breathe air. It unites cultures, classes, and generations into a single heartbeat. Melbourne is a city of layers and moods, changing with the light and rhythm of the day. By morning, laneways awaken with the aroma of coffee and the chatter of commuters. Afternoons belong to the Royal Botanic Gardens and Queen Victoria Market, where locals weave between fresh produce stalls and street performers. Melbourne's nightlife is eclectic, part sophistication, part grit, always alive. In every hour, the city feels both familiar and new, a place where routine and discovery coexist. Melbourne is not a city you just visit. It's a city you experience. One laneway, one coffee, one story at a time. No symbol defines Australia more than the Sydney Opera House. Designed by Danish architect Jørn Utzon and opened in 1973, its silhouette of white sails rising over the harbour is recognized across the world. Hosting over 1,500 performances annually, from classical symphonies to global pop icons, it is more than a venue. It is Australia's cultural heartbeat. By day, sunlight dances across its tiled sails. By night, it glows like a lantern on the water, reflecting Australia's spirit of creativity. It's a place where architecture, nature, and culture meet, becoming a beacon for expression and identity. In the heart of the outback, Uluru rises from the red desert like a giant stone guardian. Standing 348 meters high and stretching 9.4 kilometers around, this sandstone monolith holds sacred significance to the Anangu people. For thousands of years, its caves, paintings, and songlines have carried Dreamtime stories, living memory etched in stone. Today, Uluru is protected within a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where visitors are invited to walk, listen, and learn, not to conquer. Watching sunset turn the rock crimson and gold is to witness the spiritual soul of Australia. Nicknamed the Kothanger for its sweeping arch, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is both icon and engineering marvel. Completed in 1932, it spans 1,149 meters, linking the cities north and south while framing some of the world's most photographed skylines. Climbing its steel ribs on the Bridge Climb experience offers panoramic views of harbours, sails, and city lights. Each New Year's Eve, fireworks cascade from its arches in a spectacle seen by millions worldwide. It stands as a symbol of connection between coasts, cultures, and the past and future. Stretching 243 kilometers along Victoria's rugged coast, the Great Ocean Road is one of the world's most scenic drives. Built by returned soldiers between 1919 and 1932 as a memorial to World War I veterans, it winds past towering cliffs, pristine beaches, and rainforests. The route's crown jewel, the 12 Apostles, are colossal limestone stacks sculpted by wind and waves over millennia. Driving this road feels like riding the edge of the world, where land, sea, and sky collide. It is both a tribute to memory and a journey through timeless beauty. Australia's identity lives in more than buildings and monuments. The Southern Cross constellation glitters on the national flag, symbolizing the country's place beneath southern skies. The kangaroo and emu on the coat of arms, creatures that cannot walk backward, embody progress and resilience. The golden wattle, Australia's national flower, bursts into bloom each spring, painting the landscape in hues of hope. These symbols are more than emblems. They are stories of movement, belonging, and a shared vision for the future. Located in the Northern Territory, Kakadu is a cultural and ecological masterpiece. Spanning 20,000 square kilometers, it shelters wetlands, waterfalls, and over 2,000 plant species. Ancient rock art narrates 65,000 years of First Nation stories, while saltwater crocodiles lurk beneath emerald waters. Every season reshapes Kakadu's identity, from monsoonal floods to dry season billabongs teeming with birds. It is a land where time feels suspended, wild, untamed, and sacred. Just 2 hours west of Sydney, the Blue Mountains rise into a dreamscape of mist-shrouded cliffs and hidden valleys. Named for the eucalyptus haze that gives the region its signature blue glow, it is home to waterfalls like Wentworth Falls and landmarks like the Three Sisters. Hiking trails weave through sandstone plateaus where ancient forests whisper stories older than memory. The Blue Mountains aren't just scenic, they're spiritual, a reminder of Australia's eternal bond with the land. Listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Fraser Island is the largest sand island on Earth, stretching 120 kilometers off Queensland's coast. Here, rainforests grow directly on sand, and crystal-clear lakes like Lake Mackenzie shimmer beneath turquoise skies. Dingoes roam freely, shipwrecks rust beneath pounding surf, and the shifting dunes rewrite the island's shape with every windstorm. Fraser Island feels like a paradox made real, wild yet delicate, timeless yet ever-changing. Far south lies Tasmania, a land of untamed wilderness where forests older than dinosaurs thrive beneath glacial peaks. Over 40% of the island is protected as national parks and reserves, making it a sanctuary for rare species like the Tasmanian devil. Cradle Mountain's alpine lakes mirror skies so clear they seem infinite, while rugged coastlines whisper secrets of shipwrecks and storms. Tasmania isn't just a destination. It's a journey into isolation and purity, where nature still rules unbroken. Australia is rewriting its future through innovation in infrastructure. Projects like the Sydney Metro, Melbourne Airport Rail Link, and the Western Sydney International Airport are redefining connectivity. The Indian Pacific Railway stretches 4,352 kilometers, linking Sydney to Perth across deserts, mountains, and plains. This modern network mirrors Australia's ambition to bridge vast distances while honoring an ancient landscape. With 90% of its trade by sea, Australia's ports are gateways to the world. Port Botany, Port of Melbourne, and Port Hedland handle billions in exports from iron ore to liquefied natural gas, LNG. Australia's maritime infrastructure powers its economic influence across the Indo-Pacific, connecting continents through strategic waterways. Australia's aviation hubs rank among the best in the world. Sydney Kingsford Smith Airport, handling over 40 million passengers annually, connects Australia to 90 international destinations. Melbourne Airport leads innovation with biometric check-ins, while Brisbane and Perth serve as Pacific and Indian Ocean gateways. These airports are not just terminals, they are bridges between worlds. Australia is rapidly transforming into a digital-first economy. The National Broadband Network, NBN, extends high-speed internet to even the most remote outback towns. Smart cities like Adelaide pioneer IoT-driven infrastructure, while Canberra develops cutting-edge cybersecurity ecosystems. In the digital age, infrastructure is more than roads and rails. It's data, speed, and connection. Australia's infrastructure reflects a delicate dance, building the future while protecting the past. From eco-friendly architecture to solar-powered highways, sustainability shapes every blueprint. Projects work alongside Aboriginal heritage protections, ensuring that progress doesn't erase sacred spaces. This balance defines Australia's ambition to thrive without forgetting where it began. Over 50 million kangaroos roam Australia, outnumbering humans 2 to 1. Built for endurance, their muscular tails act as a fifth limb, while powerful legs launch them up to 9 meters in a single bound. For Aboriginal Australians, kangaroos are sacred beings, etched into Dreamtime stories and rock art for over 40,000 years. Today, they stand proudly on the Australian coat of arms, symbolizing a nation that never moves backward, only forward. From the red deserts of the outback to suburban parks, kangaroos are more than wildlife. They are identity, heritage, and motion personified. With their round ears and sleepy eyes, koalas embody the gentle spirit of Australia's forests. They survive almost exclusively on eucalyptus leaves, extracting just enough energy to sleep up to 20 hours a day. But today, koalas face severe habitat loss from urbanization and bushfires, with populations declining by nearly 30% in the past 2 decades. Conservation projects across Queensland and New South Wales aim to restore eucalyptus corridors and rehabilitate injured koalas. To hold one is to touch Australia's fragility and its resilience. Few creatures defy classification like the platypus. With a duck-like bill, beaver tail, and the ability to lay eggs, early scientists once thought it was a hoax. Native to Eastern Australia, the platypus hunts using electroreception, detecting prey through subtle electric fields in murky rivers. In the rainforests of Queensland, the southern cassowary, a flightless bird standing up to 1.8 meters tall, rules the undergrowth. Dubbed the world's most dangerous bird, cassowaries wield dagger-like claws capable of inflicting serious injuries. Yet, their role in the ecosystem is vital. Cassowaries consume fallen fruits and disperse seeds, ensuring rainforest regeneration. For the First Nations peoples, cassowaries hold spiritual significance, appearing in Dreamtime myths as forest guardians. Their presence reminds us that wilderness and balance are inseparable. Australia is home to 2 of the planet's most formidable predators, saltwater crocodiles and great white sharks. Saltwater crocodiles, or salties, can reach lengths over 6 meters and are found across northern Australia's rivers and coasts. In the oceans, great white sharks patrol the southern seas, apex hunters shaping marine ecosystems for millions of years. Despite their fearsome reputations, both species are essential to maintaining ecological balance. Protected habitats and conservation efforts ensure these predators remain part of Australia's natural identity. In their silent power, they embody the wild, untamed heart of the continent. Australia harbors some of the world's most venomous creatures, a paradox of beauty and danger. From the inland taipan, the deadliest snake on Earth, to the funnel-web spider lurking beneath suburban gardens, these creatures evolved unique defenses on a continent of extremes. Even the box jellyfish, nearly invisible in northern waters, carries venom potent enough to stop a human heart within minutes. Yet these species are not villains, they are products of survival, shaped by Australia's isolation and adaptation. Australia's skies blaze with color and sound, home to over 900 bird species, half of which are found nowhere else on Earth. From the laughing kookaburra's iconic call to the rainbow lorikeet's explosion of color, each bird adds its note to the continent's living symphony. The flightless emu, featured alongside the kangaroo on the national coat of arms, symbolizes resilience and motion. Birdsong here isn't background noise, it's the heartbeat of the land. Beneath Australia's turquoise waters thrives a world of astonishing biodiversity. From whale sharks cruising Ningaloo Reef to playful pods of dolphins off Byron Bay, the seas hold stories millions of years old. Over 4,000 species of fish inhabit these waters, along with dugongs, manta rays, and migrating humpback whales. Marine parks and UNESCO-protected zones safeguard these fragile ecosystems from overfishing and warming seas. Australia's oceans remind us this continent belongs as much to water as to land. Off Victoria's Great Ocean Road, the 12 apostles rise from the Southern Ocean like ancient guardians. Formed over 10 million years by relentless waves and winds, these limestone pillars now number 8, their brethren claimed by erosion. Standing at their cliffside edge feels like gazing into Earth's deep time, a reminder that nature sculpts beauty through patience and destruction alike. Scattered like jewels across Queensland's Coral Sea, the 74 Whitsunday Islands are a paradise of white sands and turquoise seas. Whitehaven Beach, famed for its pure silica sand, is considered one of the most pristine in the world. Sailing between these islands feels like drifting through a painter's dream, where reefs shimmer beneath glassy waters. Here, time slows, and horizons stretch beyond imagination. At the heart of Tasmania's wilderness, Cradle Mountain rises above alpine lakes and ancient forests. Hiking trails wind past glacial valleys and wildflower meadows, while Lake St. Clair plunges as Australia's deepest freshwater lake. This is a sanctuary where nature reigns untouched and silence speaks louder than words. On Middle Island in Western Australia, Lake Hillier glows with an otherworldly bubblegum pink hue. Scientists attribute its color to microalgae, but the site remains surreal, a vivid contrast of pink lake, green forest, and blue ocean. From above, it looks less like Earth and more like a painter's dream made real. Kakadu National Park, spanning 20,000 square kilometers, is a fusion of culture, history, and raw wilderness. Its wetlands teem with life, from saltwater crocodiles to migratory birds. Here, every river bend and escarpment holds meaning, a reminder that Australia's wonders are not just scenic, but spiritual. Beneath the southern skies, we've crossed a continent shaped by fire, water, and time. From the ancient whispers of the Daintree to the crimson heart of Uluru, from the surf at Bondi to the roar of the 12 apostles, Australia unfolds like a living tapestry. It is a continent of stories, each told in the colors of its reefs, the silence of its deserts, and the song of its forests. And through every story runs a single thread, a resilient spirit, one that moves forward, like the kangaroo, never looking back. Australia is a paradox, and that is its beauty. It is at once ancient and young, wild and modern, fierce and gentle. Here, kangaroos leap across sunburnt plains, while skyscrapers pierce the clouds. First Nations stories echo in sacred songlines, while AI labs in Sydney and Melbourne shape tomorrow. Great white sharks patrol turquoise coasts, while solar farms in the outback fuel a greener future. Australia is not simply a place on the map, it's a vision of possibility. And yet, for all its vastness, Australia is more than the sum of its wonders. It is the smile of a stranger at a beach cafe, the shared roar of an AFL crowd, the quiet mateship that binds a nation built on diversity and dreams. It's in the way the sun falls over the Sydney Opera House, the salt carried on the winds of the Whitsundays, the glow of vivid Sydney's lights, and the hushed reverence beneath Tasmania's ancient forests. Australia doesn't just ask to be seen, it asks to be felt. And once you've felt it, you'll carry it with you in your eyes, your breath, your heartbeat. Our journey ends here, but Australia's story is endless. Beneath its stars and reefs, its cities and deserts, lies an invitation to wander further, to listen deeper, to discover more. Because Australia is not just watched, it is experienced. So, if you've traveled with us across this vast and wondrous land, let us know. Which place took your breath away? Which story left its mark on you? Comment below and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear your journey. And if you want to explore more hidden corners of the world in cinematic 4 Kelvins, subscribe now, leave a like, and turn on the notification bell.